Alright folks, this is the developer blog number 17. Big camera mode just as an introduction. As always, if you enjoy the content and the work I put in, trying to keep you up to date with gears and other topics that I find interesting. As always, you can support the content down below. A brand new one just started for this month. You can also follow on Twitter, and if you want best sort of free ways to support, liking, commenting, sharing the video if you enjoyed it, letting other people know about my channel as it's quite niche, or Twitch priming, those are the best ways to support me. On the stream today we have somebody new. We have Jonathan Taylor. He's the lead PvP designer for the Coalition. I've not watched any of his stuff. I don't know about him. I'm sure we'll learn some stuff about him when I watch the developer blog. As always, people ask me, why do you keep pausing it? Well, the whole reason is I'm doing a live watch / critique / thoughts, like immediate thoughts about watching the dev blog. If you just want to watch the dev blog in full, they're available, but I prefer to just cut out the relevant bits and then have a chat. So let's get into it and let's see what is in store for us. So I think for this one, I'm going to move my camera so it's in a bit of a better location. So I'll put myself here in the corner, not to mask Dana too much, and then I will turn off the follower list. Alright, so we're now going to play it. As always, it's going to be a bit of a scuffed setup. The world's in shutdown, you know, we've got to cut them some slack. The world's in shutdown, they're doing a live stream. It's, I guess, people phone calling in. Let's see how it goes. Let's see what they've got in store for the video. Alright, so as always, it's going to be a little bit scuffed. It's live phone-ins, isn't it? It's video calls. It's across countries or whatever the hell was happening. Everyone's in lockdown. They obviously can't be in the same room doing the dev blog, so it's going to be a little bit different. We'll see what happens. For me personally, I'm interested to see how they thought the launch went, if they speak about the launch, because it launched strangely for me. There was the live update happened, people downloaded 13 gig and then no new content was there. People were asking me what's going on, is this it? Is this Operation 3? It doesn't seem like much. Then another patch enabled some stuff, then the Tour of Duty broke, then skins didn't get released. It was a bit of a mess. So I'm interested to see about that. And then obviously we have a multiplayer designer on. I'm interested just to see what he thinks about the current state of the game. I'm not going to go too heavy with my commentary, because if you're interested in a deep dive in what I think about the game, I just posted a 25-minute video called My Thoughts. So if you're really interested in that, you can listen to that. But let's get on with it.
And we're going to talk about a ton of things today. So welcome, Jonathan.
Hey, thanks. It's great to be here.
Yeah. This is an exciting one. Just want to, I don't know if you already said this. I'm going to be looking at the chat for Twitch. So if you're asking questions on Mixer, if you want to move over to the Twitch, twitch.tv/Gears of War, then you can see there. And you can see my magical size.
Yeah, I'm also going to be, I've got both chats, so I can see both chats. So if you're on Mixer, I can see it. But bear in mind, I'm going to be playing, so give me a little bit more time to get to your questions, Mixer. But if you are on Mixer, you can drop them there. I will get to them. I'll make sure I prioritize Mixer on mine. So.
Okay, and then one more thing before we start with Jonathan to walk through, talk a little bit about Gridiron, about how it came about what the mode's all for, is I want to talk about everyone getting their season rank rewards. Those are being deployed right now, so you should be getting them as we speak.
Yeah, I just got my diamond ones. Yeah.
So they are getting rolled out in batches though. So a couple things: if you don't have it now, restart your client. So restart the game to see if that triggers it. If not, give it another 24 hours. And if it hasn't happened, because like I said, they are rolling out in chunks based on levels and groups and stuff like that. So it may take a little bit longer. So if you haven't got them by then, we have a thread up on support.gearsofwar.com for you to stay in the loop on that side. So.
And also, if you'd like to come join us to play today, we're actually going to go to a presentation first before we do anything else. But once we get that started and we've got through that and we get to the questions, we're going to be playing some Gridiron. So if you want to join us, send them.
So first things to know, I have my skins. I got the Masters set. It was a sniper, shotgun, enforcer, I believe. So yeah, the skins look pretty decent. Obviously, the same theme. If I'm being real picky, if I'm being real picky, it was disappointing that the sort of season 1 of the game didn't really work at all. The rank system was really bad. It was entirely random, and everyone lost every points imaginable. Some people would gain 1,000, then you'd lose 10,000. And I do remember them speaking a long time ago about retroactively giving people rewards if you get them for this Masters. What I mean is, I got Diamond 3 1% in the first season, and then every game I played I just lost thousands and thousands, and then I randomly got rank rebalanced into bronze. They then said that they were thinking about if you got Masters in the next season, when the rank season was a lot better, they would then give you the Masters skins for season 1. It would be nice to have the Lancer shotgun set, because really the first season didn't work, and it would have been a nice way to sort of get the community back on track if the skins would have come out on time, and then they'd have said, listen, rank season 1 wasn't perfect, we're also rewarding you with the skins from season 1. A few people might be upset because they thought they had exclusivity or something, but the reality is the first season of ranked was entirely broken. Second season was a lot better, and you probably could have got Masters if you really wanted it, and they probably should retroactively reward everybody with that first set, but that's me being really picky. In the grand scheme of things, I don't really care. I end up using a skin for a little bit, and then I'll get bored of it, and then I'll change it. So for me, it's not a big deal. I'm just trying to think of what other people might have heard and might be saying, so I'm trying to voice their opinion. Yeah, so I thought I'd mention that.
Message to TC Space Octus. We'd love to have you in the lobby while we talk about all things Gridiron.
Yeah. Oh, and don't forget to log in starting today as well, because you get the Batista bomb.
Oh yeah,
execution.
Super exciting. I'm very excited about the fact people can get the Batista bomb.
Yeah.
I love it.
I was hoping for the Ultimate Warrior when he goes crazy, but I'm old. So
The steamboat suddenly is showing up too.
oh, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
So just to touch on that, there is a Batista bomb execution with the shotgun, meaning when you shotgun somebody down, let me rephrase that. When you get somebody down via any gun, when somebody's downed and you take out your shotgun, you can do the whole pick them up, slam them down Batista bomb. Now, part of me says it's pretty interesting. It is quite a brutal execution, and if you weren't into wrestling and you just saw that as an execution move, you wouldn't think too much about it. I think it's one of the better ones, in fairness. It doesn't break immersion too much because it is just a big power slam. That could be done from anyone, really, in the Gears of War sort of universe. But it is a kind of slippery slope where we've now had the Terminator, we've now had wrestlers. There was somebody yesterday on Twitter asking that this would be a brilliant crossover for fighting stars and wrestling stars and UFC stars, and I sort of joked, what's next? We're going to have the Conor McGregor walk, and although it would be kind of amusing to get MVP and Conor McGregor walk, there becomes a point where it's are you just diluting your game? It's cool, I get it, but I feel like Gears of War has had a franchise built up for 10 years, and it's kind of like if Rome Total War put in soldiers with Nike shoes on. It's you could do it. I'm sure people would buy them, sure people would use them, but should they really be in there? Batista bomb is just about okay, but where does that lead? I don't really like crossovers unless it fits. The whole Halo guy inside of Gears doesn't really make sense to me. The Terminator, I despise. Yeah, it's a cool looking skin. Is it overpowered in ranked? Yes. It's a cool looking skin though, you can't disagree, but should it be in Gears? No. Batista, should he be in Gears? Maybe they want him to do the movie, maybe not, maybe he loves Gears. The point is, should Batista be in Gears? Probably not. It's just a little bit I'm not sure where we're going with that.
Oh my god, I'm huge.
Yeah.
So,
I think we could get that.
We really need
Yeah.
to get that mic that fixed, Dana.
yeah, I don't understand why this is happening.
Yeah,
It's totally.
he's got a magical changing camera that constantly resizes itself and it doesn't.
I was going through all my
respect it.
settings. That's why I was kind of whatever. Yeah, I mean, Liam, if you want, you can pop me off for now while we do the presentation for.
Yeah. Just give me a second, just get everything sorted, and then we'll get going.
Yeah.
The magical resizing camera baffles me. I still don't know why.
It doesn't make any sense. It's same with that weird green line at the bottom, but
Yeah.
is what it is.
Have a magical issue. Camera magical issues. Okay.
Yes.
Give me a second.
Okay, so a couple things before you start. Going forward, we're going to have a few people on to talk about various items. So, Jonathan, as our lead PvP designer, you're here to talk about PvP, specifically Gridiron. Coming up in the coming weeks, we're going to have Michael Shannon on, who is our lead PvE designer, sort of your counterpart, and then Jamie McTaggart, who is our I'm not even sure what his title is, but he basically oversees the lead gameplay. So, but he focuses on the area of weapon tuning and weapon balancing and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So Jote can answer some of those questions around those things, but we're going to do a much deeper dive on that area of the game as you're going through. So there we go. So, Mr. Taylor, can you take us through sort of how does it?
Yeah, so with Gridiron, I think we started with the assumption that we wanted to bring a single elimination, nice like one life mode back to Gears that wasn't Executioner or Warzone. Like those modes have been classic modes, people love them. They had a great initial fights, and they had.
Hang on, Jote. We got an audio issue. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Sure,
Okay, he should be fine now. It's because we disabled Dana. Continue.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, mate.
Should I restart? Or
Yeah.
Could you hear me? Okay, cool. Yeah, so with Gridiron, we looked at modes that have been classically great Gears modes. So like Execution, great single life elimination modes, and we feel like that we had a chance to bring more to that gameplay than we currently have in game. So we wanted to fill a niche there when it comes to some of that single life gameplay. We also wanted to make sure like some of the problems with Execution were things we were cognizant of when we were looking at a one life mode. So that was kind of the seed of what we started with. Another thing we realized was we wanted a mode that when people hop into play, they could understand the basics of it really like simply and quickly. But then to get really good at it and to actually like learn the strategies that work best, we wanted to be something where you as you play it, you start to learn the maps, the weapons, the like layouts, and you're able to really feel like you're progressing your ability to like learn and play the mode. So that was like two of the big pieces of player dynamics we wanted to bring forward with Gridiron, and that's kind of started the seed. So when we began, we were looking at modes that we already had and ways we could adjust those, and we were thinking of like ways we have like ring-based modes, and maybe if we had an objective that worked with those rings and different things that allowed us to like bring some of that gameplay out. And we looked at other modes like dodgeball and some of the things that brought in when it comes to like clutch moments and things where it's just like really like interesting things that happen when you have like numbers that are different between the two different teams. And when we started putting it together and iterating on it, we realized we could kind of combine these two focuses together and really trim it down into like a strong experience that gave you kind of the sense of fast-paced gameplay, not like the stalematey types of things that happen in previous single life modes, with an objective that was really clear to the player. But we had a lot of that drama over the initial and a lot of the like clutch moments that a 1v3 or 1v4 can kind of bring out. So yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it. And it morphed quite a bit. And maybe at a later time we can kind of go through where it started versus where it ended. But I'm really happy with the way it turned out. The team is really proud of all the work we did on it, and I'm hoping that folks are enjoying it as they're playing in the public.
Cool. Yeah. Also, let us just know when you want us to jump to each slide.
Okay, so I guess I'll respond to a few of those points. Leverage the classic single life experience. Yeah, I think Execution, really, really good mode for the time. Absolutely brilliant. I think now with everybody learning how to cross, the spotting in the game, People know how to get angles, rotate, all that stuff. Even the average Joe does that now. It's really hard to clutch or perform a moment of exhilaration in an execution game unless you're just vastly, vastly superior than the other team. So this gives you an opportunity to obviously like sneak cap a flag, maybe kill a couple. Maybe you just win a 1v1 and then you run the flag. It's still going to be really, really difficult to stand in this zone for 5 seconds and capture it. But there's definitely way more opportunities for plays, and I fully understand that each round resets. I'm a big fan of reset rounds. What I mean by that is, like in Counter-Strike, if you play like 3 rounds, your economy gets sort of reset. It's not snowbally. Snowballing means effectively it ramps up and becomes harder and harder and harder to win. For example, in King of the Hill, when somebody wins the initials, they then set up. And then they set up, they then also control the weapons. They then see you spawning. It becomes harder and harder to counteract a one hill. It's a bit snowbally. In this, you can lose a round, and then the game fully resets. There's no advantage. Everybody starts on an even playing field. And I am enjoying Gridiron. I will admit I've only played maybe 10, 15 games of it, but I am enjoying it. Whether that extends the duration of the game's lifespan or, you know, a few months, few weeks, I don't know. I am enjoying it right now. I do think it's a good innovation. Now, this isn't the next point I'm about to make isn't my point. This was Jamie's, who's I've known for ages, since forever basically. And when I said that there was a flag capture the flag game mode in the game, this is what he immediately said to me. He said, "Oh, is that so you can carry your banner around in the game?" And I was like, I don't think that's the case. No, it's just a LED banner that glows on your back. But the more you think about it, it just makes so much sense. When you pick up the flag in Gridiron, why don't you pick up your own banner? Or your own Great Britain flag that you paid 300 iron for? It would be a great way to increase the value of a banner. I recently unlocked a Gears of War 1 banner. I only ever get to see that ever in the game if I am MVP. And now, if you didn't know, they changed it so MVP isn't MVP of the game. It's MVP of the winning team. So if you get 10,000 points but lose, you don't get to see your banner. So the only time you ever get to see your banner in Gears of War is if you get MVP and you're on the winning team. It would have been really, really great to keep the LED glowing feet and everything and just have simply, when you pick up the flag, your banner appears and then you glow blue or red depending what team you're on. A very, very small change, but I think it would have been a nice change for sure. But in terms of just gameplay, forgetting aesthetics, so far it feels quite fun. The only thing I've noticed is they said they spent a ton of time working on weapon placements. I haven't played enough to have a comment on the weapon placements, and I do know the community is very hit or miss, isn't it? But a lot of people are telling me they dislike the weapon sort of setups, in the fact that there's just like rifles and hammer bursts everywhere. So maybe that could be looked at, but I haven't formed my own opinion because I haven't played enough, so I won't comment on that.
Sure. Yeah, if you already have the first one up.
Sorry, Liam, am I just muted or am I only on, or am I just no audio?
People can hear you.
Okay, good.
Cool. And so before we get started, I just want to say thank you guys for joining us for the stream. Like, I recognize like probably most people are at home right now, and it's been kind of a stressful, crazy time. And so thank you for just joining us, taking the time to watch. And I hope you really enjoy like playing at home and enjoying the game mode. Yeah, the team's been working really hard. We're all working from home. I'm actually in the office today just because my connection's not so great at home here lately. So I want to make sure the stream was going to be strong. But we're working really hard to look at all the feedback you're giving and trying to look and see what improvements we need to be making for the next few updates. And so that work continues, and I just want to say thank you for enjoying the game and all the positive feedback and all the feedback in general you've been giving us.
Yeah, I think that's a really important call out there, Jose. Like, traditionally, I think Gears has shipped modes, not even just modern Gears, like in the past, and they haven't really changed from release unless it was in the box. And like, this is a mode we're planning to kind of live and adapt by how it gets played and what emerges from it, right?
Yeah, so we're looking really closely at player feedback. We're also looking at stats and data in terms of like what events are happening in the game, and so we're really open to making changes that are going to improve gameplay, and that includes things like weapon swaps and looking at different timings of events. So the first few like weeks, or so far, it's been really positive. The first few weeks, we're watching to see kind of how the mode settles before we start making any major adjustments to it, and that's part of what we're trying to do to get it ready for ranked. So we want to make sure that any problems that crop up during our quick play sessions, we're able to get into good shape before people start playing matches where rank is involved. So.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. That's what I'm saying, though. He's come in from his home, risking coronavirus to get a better connection. Like, you got to say thanks for that. Also, I understand that when a brand new game mode comes out that's never been in Gears of War before, it's not going to be perfect, is it? It can't be perfect because it's just not really feasible. It would be more luck if it came out to be perfect than anything else. So I get it. Changes can be made, weapon changes can be made, timings of stuff can be changed, meaning maybe it's 4 seconds to capture a flag instead of 5, because then you can clutch a little bit better and not be lanced down. Or maybe they change the hammer bursts to an extra sniper, or, you know, I don't know. You know what I mean? So I understand that. What I'm worried about, because I've been in the community for so long, is this community is incredibly split. It's incredibly, I don't know really the word, divisive. It's incredibly like you're either on one side or you're on the other side. And if you don't agree with one side, you can't look at the other side. Meaning, if I think that, oh, I actually quite like the hammerburst bin there, if I think that and somebody disagrees with me, they're like, well, everything else you say is irrelevant. There's not really a back and forth discussion. So I think you got to be careful who you listen to, because some people just want certain things. For example, I'm a big advocate of a smaller gib range. There's a guy in chat here that's like, this operation's great. There's a lot less 86 and 80% in one shot. But to me, that means that this player, he's thinking that that was an issue. Getting 86% in one shot wasn't an issue. It was just you weren't close enough. Now it's back to like whole cannon each other from a distance, and all of the work that was put in to make shotgun fights become extended has sort of gone, which in turn is going to have a knock-on effect on Gridiron, because if you can't take 2v1s because you're getting blown away from gib range, or you can't long range strafe down because there's less magnetism, and the poke damage at medium to long range whilst hip firing doesn't work on, at least in my experience in PC, that I can land a full shot on somebody and I get one pellet. It feels a lot worse, and that maybe that impacts Gridiron. So I guess we have to be careful of what impact, I guess how we judge what impact is having what effect, or what, you know what I mean when I'm saying that. Like, is it the fact that Gridiron, quote, if someone comes out and says Gridiron sucks, is it because Gridiron sucks, or is it because it's very hard to make plays, and Gridiron is a game mode that inherently you need to make a play each round? You know, maybe that's why. Also, I understand that it might take 2-3 weeks to balance Gridiron, because it might take 2 months. You know, there's a lot goes into a brand new game mode, but I think the community is just going to be like, didn't like the weapons on that game mode, didn't like, I could never capture the flag or something, capturing the flag was too annoying, I got lanced down or whatever, and then nobody ever plays it again. And then you eventually balance it to be great, and then there's no players. So, and that's not a developer fault at all. That's like a community issue where I feel like people in the Gears community cannot wait. They cannot give things a week or two to just be fixed. Everything is now. And so with some things, they're correct. Some things should be coming out, working out of the gate, like the Tour of Duty, like the ranking system. But some other things, when it comes to balance and nuanced gameplay, it's like, it's a very awkward community, let me tell you that. I'm sure you already know that.
Yeah, just thank you for playing, and thank you for the feedback, and please keep it coming. So you want to go ahead and start jumping into the breakdown?
For sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, I don't have all the streams up, so I'm kind of
We're on the
going through it.
basics now, the basic side.
Oh, okay. Cool. Well, we can go back to why Gridiron one more time,
Okay.
because I think like I touched on that some. It was a bit of a ramble, so I want to go back through and kind of break it down to these points. So yeah, like I mentioned, we want to leverage the classic single life experience. What comes with that is we have great initials in our maps. So the fight over the power weapons on the center line and the initial fight out of spawn has always been one of the strongest parts of Gears multiplayer. And with Gridiron, we wanted to like really refine that and make that a big focus. So that's part of the reason it's single life, because when you have respawns, obviously the landscape of the battle changes in the middle of the battle, and you don't have the initial fights don't really play out the same anymore. And also we wanted to make it short, so during that period of time, it feels like a play. It feels like really snappy, and so you're not stuck in a single life experience. One of the negatives was you're oftentimes like stuck watching a teammate for a while. We wanted to make that downtime as little as possible for this mode. Like I mentioned before, like simple to understand. So when you first get in, hopefully everyone is, the stuff we have to show you where the flag is at and the basic mechanics of the mode. We're hoping that, gets anybody past the hump of what the hell do I do.
If I can just interject here, that's such a good point. Like, it is a simple game mode. You kill them all or you capture the flag. That's it. We tried to play Escalation. There was no games because we're on PC, but we tried to play Escalation yesterday. We got in one game after 3 days of searching, basically. I know what Escalation is because I've watched tournaments and I've sat and watched developer blogs about changes to Escalation and stuff, but nobody knows what's going on in Escalation. Like, nobody. For me personally, I would just drop the game mode entirely. Just remove it from the game. I know that sounds really, really harsh because everyone worked hard on it, but let me tell you, I don't think it's a bad game mode. In fact, I think it's a really good game mode. I do. I think it's a really good game mode. And if everybody has sat down and learnt the game mode and then played it, I think it's probably one of the best game modes that's been in the game. Because there's the whole balancing the respawns. Should I respawn up? Should I kill the guy? Are we making a play because it's a fast round respawning? What are we building up to? What are the skill trees? You could tweak the weapons. Maybe the sniper's more potent because you could give it an active down, give it 3 bullets, make it more potent. People might build towards a sniper and all of that stuff. But, we've discussed this a lot in our Discord, YouTube, whatever. I don't want to sound like an elitist jerk, but the vast majority of people that play Gears of War like things simple. They like to know what they're doing. They like to be like, right, execution, I kill all the guys. Team deathmatch, we just kill each other, and that we win. King of the Hill, right, I get the hill. Escalation is too complex for public Gears players. And then if it's too complex for public Gears players, that means it doesn't work. So when a professional stream happens with Escalation, no one's watching it. And the reason no one is watching it is because every other game, Counter-Strike, Dota, League of Legends, Overwatch, everyone that watches esports plays the same game mode that the pros play. So then when they watch the pros, they can relate to the pro. Oh, normally on this map, I go to the frag grenades and I cross here. But actually, their pro team, they're not going for frags at all. They're all going to the sniper and they're smoking this area off. And you can compare yourself to what they do to how you play the game. Oh, our team normally goes 2-2-1. They're going 4-1 split or whatever, Oh, they normally defend here and use a Reinhardt. Oh, they're not doing that. They're using a Widowmaker. And you compare yourself to the pros. And that's the interest of esports. You watch yourself, you play at home, and then you compare yourself. Gears of War has no interest because people that play at home never play Escalation. And they have no interest in watching something they don't play. It's as far... Escalation is so different to, say, Guardian, TDM, King of the Hill. It's so far different that it's like it's like going to a Gears player and saying, do you want to watch a Gears of War esports stream? But when they load it up, it's not Gears of War, it's Halo or it's Forza. That's how different it is. If I didn't play Overwatch, I wouldn't watch Overwatch. If I played the main mode of Overwatch, the push the payload mode, but all of the pros played something wildly different that I've never played, I just wouldn't be interested in it. So I think having it be simple but have depth is very, very important. And personally, if I was to ask anything, I would just say esports should be all game modes. King of the Hill, Gridiron, Team Deathmatch, Guardian. or something like that, then instead of voting for the map, you could vote for the mode and the map at the same time. People would happily tune in and watch Guardian teams set up, or Team Deathmatch, or King of the Hill, because you've got to relate to the casual fan at home, because that is what esports is built on, and that's something Gears players don't seem to grasp. Is Gears players hate casuals, but casuals are the core fan base of all esports, which sounds backwards because esports is about high level, but it's true. The casual fan is the backbone of esports, because they compare themselves to it. They're like, oh, I'm in Gold League, what does a Masters player do? Anyway, I'm getting off topic, I'll carry on.
I'm spawning in. And then as time goes on, you start to understand all the cool tips or all the tricks you can do with the flag and all the different things you can use to like morph the experience in your favor.
Question. So, seeing some people in chat saying, great, we already had a good single life experience. I'm assuming they're talking about execution in this scenario. Yep. We just removed it out of ranked, which we can talk about a little bit later. Why did we, from their perspective, why did we sort of trade one single life mode for a different single life mode?
Yeah, so it wasn't so much of a trade. Like execution has been around for a very long time, and I'll talk a little bit more about like why we like took execution and Guardian out of the ranked playlists. I think after we finish this up, I'm sure there'll be some questions around that. We found that the population of execution was just not enough to support like healthy matchmaking. And so even though it was a classic single life mode, it had some issues that didn't allow it to grow and didn't really let people get into it the way that they like could in a different mode. Part of that was the downtime when you're watching a player. There's stuff with execution rules that people that aren't familiar with it found difficult or really just hard to like adjust to. A lot of things that just weren't like messaged in a way that we were really happy with. So there's a few different problems with execution that just kind of keep it from being a modern game mode. It is a good single life mode when you know what you're playing and when everyone's really into it. When you're playing it with just the general like public instead of a custom match, there was some stuff that just didn't play well for most players.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. I know we're gonna talk about it more. I saw this coming up, so I thought this was a good time to bring it up, at least kind of notionally at this point, so you can frame up some of your as you're highlighting the mode as we go forward.
Yeah, it's good to remember, like execution, like I played a ton of execution. I've been working on Gears since Gears 1 PC, and I spent a lot of time playing. Every time we released the title, I want to make sure I knew what the multiplayer was like. So I really like execution. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it for esports for earlier Gears titles. There were just serious problems with it when it came to a mode that would attract new players and allow it to grow as a community. And so without making major changes to it, like there wasn't going to be like, it was no life for it really going forward. It's one of those modes where like the numbers that were playing it were just too low. So.
Yeah, and I think it's the type of players. I think the way gaming has evolved. I think you look at a game like a battle royale where people spawn and they die and they immediately re-queue back up again. I think just gamers have changed a little bit as well. Sadly to say.
So. Yeah, and I think that the patience for watching a person try to force a stalemate for a few minutes while the rest of the team is dead, it can be really dramatic and really interesting, but like sometimes it can be pretty boring and dry. And so there's some of that aspect to it as well. Like you have a lot of downtime.
It is, man. It is modern gamers that have no patience. Yeah. That's not the devs' fault.
Intense breathing.
Like they have to redesign the mode because. But like they say, people just go, I've died, I'm quitting. I've died, I'm quitting. And the only way you could do that is really reward people and like sort of, I don't know how to word, like falsify the experience. Like maybe the guy doesn't really enjoy spectating, but maybe he knows, oh, if I stay in and I watch a certain round, I get XP or I get more supplied bonus or something like, oh, you stayed in what for 11 rounds, well done, here's a reward. But then you're kind of just forcing people to stay for virtual rewards rather than the game mode being good. I'm not that devastated about execution going as well because I just don't think Gears 5 gameplay suits execution anyway. It's way too lance heavy, it's way too cross heavy, there's spotting, you can't really clutch if you're spotted and be seen through a wall. If you want to, you're in a 2v1 and you want to push left, they know you're going to push left because they can see you on the spot. There's loads of issues with it, and that's mainly a modern Gears problem.
We didn't like the forcing it again. Gears 4, Gears 5, like for a long time, execution was a mode that was definitely one of our lower populated lists. I don't want to get into a debate around this right now. We're going to talk about Gridiron, but I did just want to acknowledge that in the chat right now. So, all right, if you want to move on to the next slide, maybe, Jote, or if you're good.
Well, let me just go through just really quickly. So we talked about clutch plays a little bit before. Evolve and experience, we'll talk about that more when it comes to the flag moving and the player spawns flipping and the weapons popping up. But it's just, we really wanted to experience when you play the map, or we play a match of Gridiron, each round is different in some way. And so that it just allows it to play out differently, and the strategies can adapt, change based on where the weapon placements are and where the flag spawns. So that was like another key element when we were developing the mode, one thing we wanted to shine. So yeah, we can go through the basics really quickly. So you want to switch the slide, Liam? Let me know when we're good.
Yeah, it switched.
And apologies, guys. Yeah, this is a very nice PowerPoint that I did not put together. So the basics, I think everyone's hopefully had a chance to play, and if you haven't, just to remind you, is 2 teams of 5, flag that spawns across the center line of the map in 3 different locations. There's 3 different ways to score. So we can talk a little bit about the different scoring, I think in the next slide, but there's touchdowns, eliminations, and a possession victory. So touchdowns is you hold the flag in the enemy team's end zone for 5 seconds. Eliminations, you kill the enemy team. And possessions is if the round ends while you're holding the flag or the round goes into overtime, the first team to touch the flag gets a 1-point possession victory. And then the first team to reach 13 points wins. And each round's pretty snappy. So it's 2 minutes long. We even experimented with shorter. For a little while, we found 2 minutes to be the happy medium, but it's something we're always looking at. Cool. You want to go down to the next one?
Yep.
So these are going to be pretty quick because I just want to clarify in case anybody has any questions about like why we did the scoring the way that we did. So both touchdowns and eliminations are worth 2 points.
Oh, there's only one thing that I've noticed that was slightly, I'm not going to say confusing because it does eventually pop up, but because it's a 2-minute round duration, I like to know, all right, how much time have I got to play a round? There's an option in the UI setting that says display teammate information on TACCOM or in-game. I would like to be able to just have the time limit on permanently in the top left so I can work out, right, I've got about 50 seconds left rather than having to press tab and look and do all that. It would be a really nice change, or maybe the timer comes on in a minute. It's nice to know when you've got a minute left. I think with 30 seconds, if you've misjudged the time and 30 seconds pops up, you're like, okay, damn, like I've missed it. I think a minute might be a nice medium to pop up with the timer.
I think some people, we've heard some comments of like why are touchdowns not worth more points than eliminations. So the main reason is we wanted to make sure that you weren't doing any sort of like odd behavior when it comes to the last player on the team, or you weren't going to be upset at a teammate for finishing off the last player on the enemy team. So if you're in a situation where you can finish off like the very last guy, we don't want to make it where you want to DBNO the guy and run the flag to the end zone and some like weird apparent behavior just to be able to score a touchdown. It's going to be worth a tiny bit more. So really, like, if you're going to eliminate the team or score a touchdown and you have the opportunity to eliminate the other team,
I think it's completely fine, the scoring the way it is. I like the scoring.
That's the main reason for making them worth the same amount of points. If you make touchdowns worth more, you're going to have just all sorts of strangeness when it comes to knocking people down.
And we did test that. I mean, I remember when one of the first times I played the mode, I think the first thing I said to you or to somebody was like, I feel like touchdowns should be worth more than an elimination kill.
Yep.
And it was something that we did try. Like, it's not, we played with a whole variety of ways of how the scoring netted out and how the points were earned. And it didn't feel as fun, I think, is probably the easiest way of explaining it.
Yeah, I think like if you're an optimizing team, you're always going to go for that cap and downing the last player. And to be honest, like as a player or as a viewer, I'm not sure I'd want to see that personally. Like for me, the way I've always tried to think about Gridiron, and Joe, feel free to correct me if you feel like this is a misrepresentation, but I feel like the flag in Gridiron is there to enable the gameplay to be fast and have a good pace and not be stalematey within a single life mode, rather than being the entire focal point of the mode by itself, if that makes sense. Like I look at it as like an like a forced play single life mode, rather than necessarily the flag is the only thing that matters to me.
Yeah, we want to make the flag valuable, but at the same time, like if you are slaying out the other team and you have complete domination of the map, like you don't want to make it where you have to do any oddness like we mentioned. So yeah, you're right. Having the the flag puts you in a position of power. You get to dictate kind of the speed of the round, especially if you have numbers and the flag. And that's the point of it being there. Like, it's not meant to be the like main and only focus. It's meant to be like something that is, you have to pay attention to. You have to worry about it. But if you can kill the other team on top of it, then that's fine. Do that. And then just really quickly on the possession victory. So the idea was like, and we talked a little bit about execution, where at the very end of a long round, one guy would be around and it would stalemate that round just because he's managed to stay alive. And so with the flag, we wanted to like bring the cool parts of that, like where a player that manages to have the flag and stay alive even against like higher numbers is able to like eke out at least like a 1-point victory. Or if a team is in a position where it makes sense for them to score 1 point and they're able to get a hold of the flag, they're able to pull it back and defend it. And it really puts the onus on the attacking team to kind of break through their lines and get that flag back.
Also,
Solid.
just to get it out of the way, sorry, I just want to just address it just because there's people mentioning it in chat, and I just want it to be obviously so we're having a good discussion about Gridiron. The Gridiron medal for 4,000 points is going to have a live tuning change coming in. So for the people mentioning that all the time in chat, so we can move on to the rest of it. Don't worry that we're going to address that, and we've got a tuning change coming for the value.
That's great to hear that there's a tuning change coming, because that's the first thing I noticed was you just can't get 4,000 points. Even if you get 20 kills and 3 flag caps, you're not getting 4,000 points. What we're talking about here is there's a medal, get 4,000 points in Gridiron 10 times, and that's that's a category in the Tour of Duty that allows an unlock. So if you can't get that, you can't unlock the reward. But the thing about that is it's a tiny thing. That's a tiny thing in the game. But it irked me because I thought to myself, how has that gone into the patch? This patch has been set in stone and certified for ages, right? So they must have sat and read over the Tour of Duty challenges a lot of times. So how on earth was the number 4,000 achieved? Because it's just not possible really to get 4,000 points in Gridiron. Was it a typo? If it was a typo, who checked over it? Maybe the points were different in private, but it's just the tiny things sometimes that I think annoy people. Like, for me, it's not the end of the world, right? I get it. Like, yeah, we misjudged that number. We're going to lower it. Great, problem solved. But for a lot of people, they're like, well, why is that happening? Like, do you not care about the franchise? That's what I imagine they're thinking, and that's why they're spamming it so much in the Twitch chat, because how does the number 4,000 get put in there? Like, was that been achieved in testing regularly? Maybe the scores were different. I know it's going to be fixed and it's no problem. Like, you misjudged the number, completely fine. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. The number was high, it got adjusted, everyone's happy. But I think those little things add up and people are like, why did that happen?
Sorry, just wanted to make sure they...
Yeah, one of the questions I saw, and it's not so much the way to score, but I wanted to do with it, kind of trying to work with your presentation as well as sort of be reactive there. What about, someone asked about, what about looking at dodgeball respawns? Now, I know that kind of betrays the idea of a single life mode, and we wanted this to be a more quick, punchy, like single life, but not dragged out. Is that kind of why? Did we look at sort of having a dodgeball style respawn or anything?
Yeah, I mean, originally, like I said, this mode came from a few different ideas coming together. Originally, it actually had multiple respawns per player. We tried that for a little bit before single life. Yeah. Before we realized like single life was the way to go, and then a few of different things we wanted to do, we could kind of combine together in this one mode.
Well, if we're talking about life respawning, if anyone's watching this from the dev team, how about this? I like team deathmatch in theory, however in practice it sucks because everyone camps the heart out and there's always one guy that dies 19 times and gets no kills and wastes lives. And you can't do anything. You'll be playing well, you'll be 5-0, you'll suddenly look up and you're like, oh, there's no respawns left. How's that happened? If each player in Team Deathmatch had 5 respawns, the game might go on a bit longer. but I think people would enjoy it more because their experience wouldn't be sort of tainted by one bad player. People understand that there are bad players in Gears of War. Not everybody can be an amazing player, but it's frustrating when he directly impacts you. It's a bit like feeding in League of Legends. Like, I don't mind if someone's bad at the game or any game. Like, people have different skill levels, but when they directly impact you, it does become frustrating. It's kind of like trying to play like a pick-up basketball game and some guy keeps popping the ball and you're meant to not get frustrated. You know, if the guy's bleeding out 15 lives, it does get annoying. Maybe we could have progressively longer respawns per player. So if on your first death, it's a regular, whatever, 10-second respawn or whatever it is. On your 5th death, you're going to be waiting 30 seconds. And that's teaching you, maybe I need to be a bit more careful. Or we limit the lives that each player has like 5 respawns. Now the worry is, well, if he dies 5 times and then he can't play the game, he's going to quit. Well, if we had a quitting system in place that punished them, that wouldn't be a problem. And also, people like to win. Like, just because he's died and he's wasted his 5 lives instantly, you know, I can already see some issues that now I'm thinking about it. Maybe he rushes in, dies 5 times quickly, and he don't want to spectate for 10 minutes. Well, unfortunately, maybe you need to play a bit smarter with your lives, and now you're going to have to spectate. Or if he quits out, it doesn't really matter anyway if he quits out, because he's used all his lives up, and then it's up to you. So even if the guy quits, it wouldn't really impact the game too much, because he would have been dead out of the game anyway. So yeah, that was just a thing that I think that could improve Team Deathmatch. I know we're talking about Gridiron, but yeah.
We didn't try dodgeball.
Let me know in the
style
comments if you think that sounds good.
Variant. But there is something about knowing the state of the map and knowing that it's like a 2v3 and it's not going to get to be a, you know, it's not going to suddenly switch to a 3v2, right?
Yeah, execution
kind of
respawns is so much better than dodgeball for this game mode. 100%.
Field is a big part of the experience we wanted to keep. I've been reading other comments about that as well. Like, hey, have you tried dodgeball rules with it? I think we could probably look at like playing like an event or variant with it at some point, but not for the main mode now.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point about the variants. Like, you know, we can do special events around this mode and try some things out and play a bit different just to see what people think. But we wanted to keep that mode the way it works, kind of. As the other question that we're seeing, and I don't know if you want to talk about that now or if you want to hold it, I'll just put it in your brain, about the caps at the end, about how does a touchdown work? You know, I think people look at it and they intuitively expect it to sort of work a little bit like King of the Hill, where if I'm in the ring, it prevents the cap from taking place. Do you want? I don't know if you want to talk about that now, or if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, just to add in, there's also a few people saying, why was it not insta-cap, like you touch the touchdown zone, it's instantly capped.
Oh, cool.
As well.
Yeah, we can go through some of that. Yeah, so with kind of a history of development of the mode. Originally, it was. We tried it with insta-cap.
Yeah.
If you made it where you can cross the line, people would just throw a smoke grenade, rotary run through it. There's a lot of like ways that didn't feel like as a defender you had really any chance in the world of stopping a player if they got the right location and the right point ahead of you, and it ended up being more of a foot race. More of trying to actually dodge past people with the flag and get into the end zone no matter what, instead of something where you actually fought over different elements of the map.
I don't like the idea of an instant cap.
So we just found it was just too punishing for the
Maybe
defender.
5 seconds is too long, maybe 4, but we can look at that, I guess. Like, I haven't played enough.
Has a chance to stop you, has a chance to also have that dramatic clutch play on his side. And when it was an insta-cap, it just didn't allow for that at all.
Yeah, and we tried a bunch of different cap timing as well, right? So like at some point we had 3 seconds, I think, and 2, and we had...
Yeah, it was 3 seconds to start. I think in the 3 to 5 second like window we played with quite a bit. 3 seconds we found it had the same or similar problems to the insta-cap, where like it didn't really give the defender like a sense of I can stand a chance in hell of actually stopping this guy. It just put you in a position where you felt like, okay, he's already gone and that cap is gone, and it felt like you didn't actually engage in a battle with the people. Just whoever to grab.
Yeah, maybe if somebody burns past you with the flag and you haven't clocked him, it might be difficult.
5 seconds, we found like a happy medium of it's dramatic. The offense player that actually has the flag and gets into the end zone has an advantage there. He can outpace people enough where the 5 seconds can be enough where people can't even get to him, which is great if he's able to do that. But overall, it gave us a good mix of people actually able to retreat to their own end zone that are trying to defend and try to stop that player.
Yeah, I have to say, speaking as someone who played a lot in the playtest when it was 3, like it's 3 seconds sounded like a long time, but I remember like by the time you reacted, even if you like if someone snuck through your lines and you were close to the home zone, even if you were close, you had no time to down them. Like even if you put a lancer on their head with actives, it was like they would just get away with it. So
Yeah, and we tried a few other things too.
Yeah, rethinking about it, that makes sense, because if you're in there for 4 seconds, let's say they lowered the timer, if you're in there for 4 seconds and then you react and then you've got 2 seconds to down the guy, if you can't down him, then it doesn't make any difference. Yeah, maybe 5 seconds is correct. Again, haven't played it enough to really comment. I'm just reading what people are saying, trying to think of some stuff on the fly.
That just didn't quite work out. We had a concept of trying to like plant the flag where it puts you in a single position, and so it was a little bit faster to capture, but you had to do an action to do it, and it just wasn't very fun. You'd be stuck in animation while somebody walked up to you and hit you with an Asher. So like there was a lot of things we tried when it came to capturing. This is what we've landed on, and like I said, we're still looking at it though to make sure it is landed where it needs to, and it's something we'll continue to consider tuning if we feel like it just isn't given the experience that we want.
I've seen some people saying if someone gets to your end zone already, it is too late. To be honest, I've seen quite a lot. I just played a match of public before we started, and there was a couple of clutch ups at the end in that 5 seconds. So hopefully it's in the right place, but it's one of those things we'll be monitoring for sure.
Yeah, I think, and we've talked about that. I think there are lots of things inside of this. Joe, I don't know if you touched too much about the idea of execution versus like Warzone, sort of. Warzone. I think we get to that on the next slide, where we're going to talk a little bit about like the damage mitigation from bodies and stuff. So there's a few things that people are giving feedback on that we definitely want to provide some light to. But we also want to indicate that, you know, in this early period of when people are playing the mode, we wanted people to get a chance with it, play it with a lot, see what the long. We're looking at all the feedback, and by no means necessary do we look at this mode as being 100% locked in stone. You know, we're more than prepared and more than happy to make changes that make sense.
Yep. Yeah. And we're looking at it. We have a bunch of different like levers and tuning that we can use. So as we read through the feedback and watch, obviously.
So they're probably going to say it was annoying as hell to have execution rules because when you downed the flag guy across the map, you couldn't finish off the flag guy, etc., etc. And I agree. I'm not too fussed about it having Warzone rules because the alternate is execution rules, and it's Gears 5 execution and 4, 3, and 2. I've always felt that execution, the only reason people played execution in Gears 1 was to stand back up, because it was like the host could control the bleed out duration, and they put it on 5 seconds, 10 at most. So if you tapped really fast, you were getting up between like 3 and like 7 seconds, and you actually regularly got up. In this game, Gears 2, 3, 4, anything, execution rules are annoying because you're never getting up. You just delay the inevitable. The guy downs you, he runs across the map, you just about get up, and then he kills you. I would be in favour of execution rules in this game mode with like 7-second time to get up. Or 10 seconds, you know, so you actually had a chance. So when you tap, it takes about 7 seconds to get up. I just feel like there's been a thing in Gears since Gears 2 that people are missing, that the reason that execution was a thing and people liked it was because if somebody downed you across the map with an active sniper, or you were having a shotgun battle and that as you went down you blew the guy up, and then as you fell to the ground, you had like 5 seconds and you'd tap and you'd get back up, and then you're like, right, now I'm in a 1v1. On this game, and Gears 2 and all of those, you never ever get up in execution. But nobody ever seems to talk about that. That's one of the main reasons I don't like execution anymore, is because you're never getting up. So what's the point? You're just delaying the inevitable. I would love to see a game mode where you're up in like, you know, a quick amount of time so you can actually make some plays.
See like people play that are streaming, it's always helpful too. So thank you for people that have been streaming Gridiron, and just like playing ourselves online and trying to understand what the experiences we're delivering to the public. Like we're really open-eyed about it. We're trying to make sure we're watching to make sure we're giving the best experience possible. So I can jump down a little bit because I think the evolving action, we can kind of go through that really quickly. So I think people already know this. We try to tell you this inside the game. You probably noticed it. But so the flag rotates along the center line like 3 locations on each map. And so sometimes they're right on top of the weapon spawn. Sometimes they're offset a little bit. We really kind of try to give you a variety there, as well as try to make sure that if it made sense for it to be offset from the weapon because the flow through the map was better when it was like that, that's what we did. So that's also something we're looking at. If we feel like certain locations for the flag are not where you want it to be, and that's the kind of feedback you have, we're listening to that sort of thing as well. But it always rotates through those same 3 spots in that order. So when you play a map, you'll know where the flag is from like round 1, and as you learn it, you can actually know where the flag's going to be each round. So you can plan ahead a little bit. The team spawn locations, they flip every 3 rounds. And the idea is we give you the same direction 3 in a row. And but when it flips, it's kind of like an evening factor. There's some things for right-hand advantage and other things in certain maps that we try to account for the best we can, but we felt like this is the best way to give a truly even experience if you play 3 rounds on one side and 3 rounds on the other, fighting over the same weapon spawns with the same flag locations. So at halftime, the weapons flip. So we have 2 different sets that are created just for Gridiron. So we played each one of our maps quite a bit, try to find the weapons that would add variety to the gameplay, but also to kind of fit the space. So we spent a lot of time putting thought and effort into the weapons that we're placing on maps. Yeah, that's another thing we're looking at as well as we see people talking about the different experiences they're getting on different maps. We want to make sure that we are updating the weapons if we need to.
So I think that was a pretty healthy discussion about Gridiron. We're going to see some gameplay and questions answered and stuff about the Tour of Duty. I'm going to choose to not cover that because I want this video specifically to be the lead dev, or I'm not going to say lead dev, I'm not sure. He's one of the multiplayer devs speaking about Gridiron because it's the brand new game mode, so I'm going to cut it short. I'm sure there's lots of little interesting bits about the Tour of Duty and the finite amount of gameplay. They'll maybe discuss the Lancer, but the worrying thing for me isn't it's not the devs and it's not the feedback. There's enough feedback and there's enough devs that clearly know what they're talking about to make a great product. I'm just worried that the community, they just cannot, they can't wait, and it kills the game modes. And I don't know how you fix that problem unless you incentivize, like Tour of Duty, play a ranked execution game from start to finish, 5 stars. You know, if you get people to play the game at double XP in Gridiron, go and play that game mode. Play on the new map is, you know, well, maybe not that, but you know what I mean. I think you should probably put the new maps in the rotation more frequently so we get to play them more and sort of really test them, because it's very, very hard to play on the new maps. I've yet to play a multiplayer game on Canals, which is surprising. So yeah, I'm not worried that you know, that they're not listening to feedback or they can't do it. I'm just worried that I feel like the Gears community just goes, yeah, maybe it'll be fixed in 3 weeks, but right now it's awful and I'm out. And that, I get it. Why would you want to spend 3 weeks playing a game mode you don't enjoy? I get that. But it's kind of like, well, if you enjoy Gears, keep playing, keep giving feedback. I'm not saying play something if you absolutely hate it. Absolutely not. You're well within your rights to make a stand. Right now, I'm barely playing multiplayer because I cannot stand the Lancers and stuff like that. But what I'm saying is you can understand how game modes and stuff quickly die off because people play it, it's not to their taste, and then they leave. And like they say, everyone's like, right, well, that doesn't work, I'm going to go play Battle Royale, jump into a PoW, Apex Legends, whatever you want to play. So I'm not worried that they're not listening to feedback. I'm just worried that it's going to take too much time, and by the time everything's fixed, people are going to be bored. Like me, I hate the increased gib range. 4.11 was perfect gib range. Just nerf the Lancers, or leave the Lancers how they were pre-buff, and then once we've removed smokes, flashes, we can then see how the smokes impact the Lancer. Right now, it's the gib range is awful, I've got to be honest. The Lancers, playing Masters King of the Hill, I played 5. We're not tech. I was Masters last season, so was a couple others, but I know them. They're really good players. We had 5 really good players. The other team were a stacked 4-man of Masters players, because you can see the skins. And there was another guy that I know, Crazy. He was a really good player, just not enjoyable gameplay. I don't want to play that. Now I'm sort of calm enough to be like, okay, I'll give my feedback and I'll see if it changes. But most people, especially Gears of War, are just going to go, this sucks, I'm out, and they'll never people. One thing I've learned in my life of playing games is people don't come back to games for a balance change. They come back for new content, new maps, new characters, and if a balance change is tucked inside, that's a bonus. But if you spent 3 weeks balancing Gridiron and then put a post out, Gridiron has now been rebalanced, the type of people that love Gears are probably playing it anyway, the type of people that don't give a shit about balance are playing it anyway, and the type of people that hate the game but are addicted to it and still play are still going to play. You're not going to get an influx of players due to balance changes. However, balance changes can remove a massive chunk of players. So that's why it's very, very soul destroying talking about balance, and I imagine being a balance guy, because again, my note to end this is the balance of a game can completely kill its player base. However, balance changes don't bring people back. New content does. For me, I got bored of League of Legends, so the art of solo carrying was gone. It was all about teamwork, rotations, getting plates, junglers. And even if they rebalanced it, I'm not really going to come back for a rebalance. Maybe if there's loads of new content and a rebalance, yeah. So yeah, that's what I'd say is, that's the only thing that worries me, is I feel like most people, they come back for new content, and balance can turn them away, but it can't bring them back. So yeah, well, I just hope it gets fixed. I know this was a long video. It's my first one that I've ever done in one take without editing, so I hope that was good. I know it's long, but we're all in isolation. Watch it in chunks. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Let me know. As always, if you've enjoyed the video, you can follow, subscribe, support me with Twitch Prime, or just hang out in chat. Like, people being in chat, talking, just makes the experience so much more fun for me. It keeps me motivated to do it. You can support more directly if you want to support the content goal, to keep me, going, keep me fueled up. Or you can just follow on Twitch, Twitch on my Twitter if you want to see some stuff. Thanks everyone for watching. I think we've covered quite a lot there. The last slide is going to be tips and tricks, and then there's just going to be a load of basic questions, and I sort of know how that's going to go probably. So thanks very much.